I don't normally watch TV series unless they're finished or they're non-chronological. It means that when I finish any season on a cliffhanger, I can just sit down and keep on watching. I don't have to wait. Mr. Robot is exactly why I do this. Mr. Robot isn't finished yet, and I've only seen season 1, but I can already tell that the cliffhanger for every season after this will be even more tense than the one previous. So, against my better judgment, I've watched season 1 of Mr. Robot after the show was recommended to me by several friends. So while yes, I hate that I'm going to have to wait long periods of time between seasons, I also love the show. It's one of the best character studies to hit a screen of any kind, and its technical prowess leaves me kind of floored, but I will get to that. It's well known that Mr. Robot has an anti-establishment streak. The trailer for season 2 is reminiscent of the Anonymous videos, and the focus of the show, F Society, is also reminiscent of this group. But much deeper than this, I think the show's disdain for the corporate world is an extension of the main character Elliot's dissatisfaction with people. The show's overarching plot focuses on a corporate conglomerate which is called E-Corp but Evil Corp by Elliot. And I think Evil Corp is to some extent a manifestation and personification of all of the things Elliot thinks is wrong with people in general. It's still very clear that this kind of corporation is an exaggerated reflection of our current society, but given the light the audience is portrayed in and their position in this show's universe, I think Evil Corp is as much a reflection of our world as it is Elliot's. The investigation of Elliot's character throughout the season is riveting and progressively more tense as the end of the season nears. The way his character interacts with the world around him is really interesting, and it provides a new perspective on some of the more commonplace themes of the show. The exploration of Elliot's ideals that is spotlighted by the show's events allows for a much more in-depth study of his character's mannerisms and emotional responses. Half of Elliot's character comes from the consistency and realism of Rami Malek's performance. He truly inhabits the character, and it's one of the few things that boosts the show beyond what it would normally be capable of. However, the creation of Elliot is not only due to Malek's performance, his dialogue and speech patterns are also really well realized. The same thing can't be applied to the entire cast of characters, however. While the majority of dialogue is really solid, there are a few moments of really ham-fisted and awkward lines that had me eye-rolling. They're not badly performed lines, but there's not a lot you can do to save a line with particularly awkward writing. A lot of these lines come from relationship moments, or moments where relationships are evolving and changing. The relationships themselves are much less awkward. They all make sense and add a lot to Elliot's character. A lot of character depth comes from how Elliot interacts with not just people on the street, but the people close to him, what he hides from them and what he doesn't. What really stumps me about the show is its style. There is something in it that is just totally beyond me. I can see that there is something more to what the show presents than dramatic imagery and other things like that. There's something in the cinematography that can definitely be read into. For example, the show's habit of framing people with space above their head. And it's not just a one-off thing, it's a motif that continues throughout the season, and continues into most of what I've seen in season 2 as well. And I really want to look into this aspect of the show. I have my own theories, but it's one of the things that I can tell lots of people have a variety of opinions on. My theory on these aspects of the show all relate to Elliot's character, and my reasoning for this is the show makes it clear that what the audience sees is what Elliot wants us to see. The audience's role in Mr. Robot is really interesting and intriguing, as Elliot says that the audience is his imaginary friend, and he references this more towards the end of the show. With that in mind, I think that the atmospheric and tonal aspects of Mr. Robot are really brilliant. Everything flows and works together really well, but it all seems to serve a purpose. I harp on about how cinematography should accomplish more than just looking good, and I think Mr. Robot is an amazing example of how this can work. The shots in this show are cut together really well. The dramatic tension that exists throughout the season is expertly crafted and handled. Wide-angle lenses, shallow depth of field, and some really great editing techniques make for some amazing sequences of pure tension. Nothing particularly exciting needs to be happening. Some of the most dramatic scenes in the season come from just two people sitting opposite each other and talking. The best thing is, all of these visual elements work together really well within the context of a show and its technological focus. The cleanliness and precision of the visuals and the editing style of the last few episodes fits really well into the digital world that features so heavily in the show. The score also follows this theme. The music is reminiscent of the 8-bit synth tunes of Hotline Miami, and like the visuals, the synthesized music of Mr. Robot suits the context and the focus of the show, while simultaneously being dramatic and tense. The difference between Mr. Robot and Hotline Miami's soundtracks is how they feature. While the 80s electronic pop booms in the speakers of Hotline Miami, the music often takes a backseat to the other aspects of a show in Mr. Robot, which is something I always love to see, letting the music be a backup enhancement rather than an instruction to feel a certain way. I've already begun season 2, and it's already showing me that this show has a lot to offer for the future. So in the meantime, while it's still going, I recommend that everybody watch it. It's a lesson in great filmmaking despite its drawbacks. Mr. Robot Season 1?
9 out of 10.